Hi everyone, welcome to the Movieception Show. My name is Fariba, and today we're about to watch The Mandalorian Season 3, Episode 5, which means we're just about halfway through the season, which is incredible because the show had only just started about a couple weeks ago, like just as Last of Us was airing, and now we're already reaching more than a halfway point, which is really insane. I think so far, the whole story has been, there's been a lot of potential to it, although there are a lot of things where I'm still not really sure where the story is going, although they are giving us a lot of hints and kind of pieces of where the arcs are going, what they're kind of leading up to. Of course, in the last few episodes, we've seen Grogu and Bo-Katan becoming far more fleshed out characters than we've ever kind of seen them before. For Grogu, we actually explored sort of a bit of what happened on Order 66, his flashback for it, who saved him, all that sort of stuff, which implies that's going to influence a lot of what's going to happen probably by the end of the season. And then for Bo-Katan, we've been kind of seeing this confliction for her, where in terms of her philosophies as a Mandalorian, we can get a sense of this confusion that she's getting out of it, okay, well, what do I do now? And then especially after what we saw a couple episodes ago, where she saw the mythosaur that she thought was a folktale end up being a real thing, right? It was a reality. So there's definitely a lot of that confusion that she's going through, although again, we haven't really been seeing a lot of her face, of course, which is really interesting because she's following basically the Creed way, the old Mandalorian way as of right now. I mean, it'll be interesting to see kind of what happens in today's episode and the following episodes, and what this will lead up to in terms of her beliefs in terms of as being a Mandalorian. So yeah, I'm really excited about that. I think the one I've been really a bit confused about so far is Din Djarin, because I feel in the last two episodes we haven't really been seeing him. His story kind of the main storyline concluded back in episode 2, where he found he reached the Mandalore planet, found the pool that he needed to go to cleanse himself in terms of his apostasy. And then of course since then there hasn't really been anything going on with Din Djarin's story, which kind of baffles me a little bit, just because I feel he is supposed to be the main star of the show, and yet we haven't really been seeing him other than being a sideline character. So hopefully today we'll see a bit more of Din Djarin, kind of understanding where he is in terms of his placement in this season. But yeah, without further ado, let's get right into episode 5 of The Mandalorian. Okay, we're back in Navarro, I see.
Make a note. Let's move the trade district closer. We're moving a lot of cargo in and out of here.
What's going on?
Hold on a second.
Whoa. What?
Pirates?
High Magistrate. There's a pirate corsair violating the airspace of the population.
I don't believe my eyes. The voice sounds like Grief Karga, guildmaster of the Navarro hunters. But all I see before me is a pampered nobleman dressed for the pomp of his wedding feast.
Believe your ears then.
And on your planet,
He shot first.
well, now
did shoot first.
I will shoot first.
Are you sure that's a good idea?
Protect the mid-rim from the pirate nation. This isn't Sabak. You can't bluff your way out of this one, Gaga.
I thought
Don't hail me again unless it's to surrender.
Time to call Mando. Hey. I love how they all have just their own individual pilot hub. The Rebel Alliance. Hey.
Then I'm just gonna have to go there and talk to them myself. can't ignore me face to face.
I like your attitude. Good
Hmm.
luck. You're gonna need it.
Mm-hmm.
Captain JV here to see Colonel Tuttle.
Oh.
No. And now a pirate king is attempting the same thing? These events could all be connected.
I think that's a bit of a leap.
Really? Because I'm hearing Moff Gideon never made it to trial.
Captain, this isn't a rebellion anymore. We have a structure now. I work in requisitions, so let's focus on what you require.
Okay. I'm a queen suffer. Sounds like a rather imperial way of thinking.
Captain, you're out of line.
Oh.
It's fine. I'm used to that kind of talk. But from experience, it often takes a new perspective before one is able to see it.
Geez, we can't do more.
Wow, okay.
There's something dangerous happening out there. All these events, it's not coincidence. And by the time it becomes big enough for you to act, it'll be too late.
Well, he ain't wrong.
Who's coming to help?
How can you be so
I have
sure?
sent a message to the New Republic. Help is on the way.
I wouldn't be so sure about that. Interesting. They're about to reach out to the Mandalorians. Oh.
I have a time-pressing matter to attend to.
Who would that be? Oh.
Thanks, R5.
The entire covert will now have to relocate.
Or we can kill him. Stay right here.
Karga's your friend. You won't let him die.
What's in it for you?
The New Republic has to know that the Empire is growing again. Say for sure. But something doesn't smell right. Look, it's not your fight. I just came to tell you your friend is in danger. I thought you should.
He's right. I gotta help the guy.
You can't do it alone.
Hey. Yep.
Now, many of you don't know her, and has risked his life to save mine, as well as the foundling in my charge.
Eee, baby.
I stand before you to petition an intervention. Perhaps it is time for us to live in the light once again, on a planet where we are welcome, so our culture may flourish, and our children can feel what it is to play in the sunlight. And now.
I do.
Oh no. Not this guy.
Butchers that hunted us in the sewers. I saw many die to save the life of this one tiny foundling. And now we are asked to sacrifice. Why should we lay our lives down yet again?
I mean, it's not like he's wrong.
Because we are Mandalorians.
Hey.
I have had my disagreements with this man, but he risked his life to save my son. And Bo-Katan Kryze did not give up on my child's life, even when the rest of us did. These two are asking us to take up arms in the name of a brighter future. And I, for one, will take up arms to fight by their side.
Hey.
This is the way.
This is the way. If everyone acts as they should, we can use the element to surprise and defeat an enemy that outnumbers us.
Love it. Love it.
Mandalorian Shard is captaining a Cumulus-class core healing for you to settle. You lived there once, hiding in the sewers. But now, you can be heroes.
What a speech.
It's the Mandalorian! Mandagano!
Thanks for your help, Mando.
I decided to take you up on your offer for a tract of land.
Be careful, my friend. They've got you outnumbered 10 to 1.
I like those odds.
Nice.
Bet you do.
Nice. Nice maneuvering. Everybody come. Cute. Cute.
Area clear. Team 2, you with us?
Nice.
Din, what's your position?
I'm over the flats with snub fighters in pursuit. You're clear to start your run.
Oh my god, Bippy. Grogu, use your force.
There's another ship, Captain! A Comrade-class fighter transport!
Nice.
Took out an engine!
Tell Zane and the fighters to reform for the...
Possible ambush. Take cover.
Oh. They're circled. Hey. Nice one. Oh no. Oh no. Oh no. Oh no.
He's above you! He's below you!
He's above you, he's below you. Okay.
Another engine!
There you are, Armor.
But it's time to part ways.
Oh, coward.
Sir, that's our last engine!
Nice, yeah. You don't mess with the Mandalorians and the Navarro people. Hey!
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you to all of you, and especially to our fine Mandalore. But you do now have a home. Welcome. Welcome. Welcome, and thank
Hey!
The Armorer wishes to speak with you.
Interesting.
Remove your helmet. Wear it. Do you respect my station?
I do.
Remove your helmet.
What is going on?
Together.
This is the way.
We must walk the way together. All Mandalorians. Thought it existed only in legends. And yet, you saw it. It is a sign that the next age is upon us. Mandalore must all come together. You have walked both worlds. You are the one who can unite us.
Ooh. Ooh. That's exactly what we've been waiting for this whole time. Hey, oh my god. Oh my god. What's going to happen? Oh my god. Oh.
It is time to retake Mandalore.
I'm assuming he's investigating what happened with Moff Gideon.
Vessel shows evidence of being attacked. Any reports in the area?
There's a record of a missing craft in the region. The details are classified.
Classified?
R7, launch probe.
Moff Gideon.
I knew it. He never made it to trial. There don't appear to be any survivors. It's a fragment of Beskar alloy.
Are you saying that Moff Gideon was taken by Mandalorians?
Huh? So that was episode 5 right there, and we're finally getting to the juicy parts of season 3, the one that we've been really waiting for, right? Like, I've just been waiting, because like ever since we kind of saw the resolution of Din Djarin's storyline back in episode 2, I've just been wondering, like, okay, if they're gonna end off things that soon this season, like, that means that this season had to have something far more going on in terms of its story. And of course, like, the one thing that the trailers had implied for a long time is that it's going to explore far more about Mandalore, the Mandalorians, and just kind of going into like the conflict of like the philosophies between the old and new Mandalorians, right? So really interesting how we kind of see what is going to be sort of the plan moving forward. Like, I think they've finally established what is going to be sort of the concluding parts of season 3, and that is they're gonna try and reunite the old and new Mandalorians together. So that's gonna be a very interesting thing. Like, I mean, there was a reason why we've been seeing Bo-Katan so in deep into this show, like never before, and now it makes far more sense why, like, she's going to be key to uniting Mandalorians of different beliefs together to finally become this one, you know, entity, right? Like, something that they never thought was going to happen after what happened with Mandalore, and now here they are. Like, they're planning on reuniting as a, you know, single group, which is going to be very interesting, because now we've also got this bigger issue that, you know, just became unexpected by the end of this episode, which is apparently a Mandalorian may have somehow helped Moff Gideon escape, which is very a big plot twist, I guess you could say. Something that we just did not expect was going to be the case. I mean, for one thing, I had a feeling that Moff Gideon was going to be let loose somehow. Like, like the fact that they even was implying by the beginning of this episode that, you know, Moff Gideon didn't even reach trial, right? Like that was kind of a clue right there. Okay, we're probably gonna see Moff Gideon again at some point this season, because the fact that he didn't make it to trial, the fact that, you know, something just seems off, the fact that we even see a former preload officer that was under Moff Gideon, right? Like, even then, like, she's technically not former, she's still kind of still aligned with that Imperial faction under Moff Gideon. It's like, okay, well, there's definitely something fishy going on with this season. It's like, okay, there's something fishy going on. Moff Gideon's still somehow involved in this season, and now we kind of have a very clear idea with what is really going on. And again, like, I'm going to assume that we're going to see Moff Gideon at some point before the end of the season. Like, he's going to reappear somehow. Like, I'm going to assume it's going to be Coruscant from the looks of it, because of the fact that there's a lot of that deep connection right there that we saw with Pershing and the Imperial officer, that, you know, it's not really a rogue Imperial officer, like, she's just working undercover from the looks of it. And then again, like, it seems like all the roads are leading down to Coruscant. Like, it's becoming very clear that we're gonna go to Coruscant at some point, and I'm gonna assume that that means that the Mandalorians are somehow also going to be involved with Coruscant for some reason, right? Like a lot of questions with that. So the fact that they're mentioning that it's the Mandalorian, a Mandalorian who may have helped Moff Gideon escape, is a very interesting one. Like, who would have done that? Like now I'm kind of just raising suspicion that, okay, could the armor would have been involved in this? Because I feel like Din Djarin nor Bo-Katan would be involved in this. Like, I don't see how they would, would want Moff Gideon off, like, escape. Whereas, like, I think if there's anybody who kind of has any sort of agenda, I feel like it might be the armorer, but who knows? Like, lots of big questions about that, especially because, like, the first season we actually saw them go against Moff Gideon and the Imperial officers, right? Like, in that whole battle. They even discussed in this episode, like, what happened. It's because of them that they had to relocate to a new planet as a result of it to save Din Djarin, and now it's like, oh, now one of them is the one who, maybe not just one, but multiple of them may have helped Moff Gideon escape. Now, again, with a Beskar, right? So definitely a lot of intriguing stuff that we get in the last few moments right there. Like, that's really kind of setting up some really interesting stuff going into the last half of the season that I've been waiting for. Like, again, as I mentioned before, like, I like that we are going in a much slower pace this season, like not going too fast in terms of the storytelling. Like, they're developing the characters, developing what is really going on, kind of the conflicts, the situations on hand, setting up the character development. Like, it's becoming very clear that they're really kind of setting up like the pieces to kind of lead up to sort of the end of season 3. Again, like for this season, right? Like, it's really clear that they're really going to be exploring a lot of Mandalore or the Mandalorians, which now is becoming far more clear after having seen this episode. Like, even from like the start to finish, like, it's becoming very clear that we're getting a bit more of the Mandalorian storyline, and now they're really kind of getting the pieces together to really start fleshing out that arc. And again, like the fact that they really put a lot of that concentration on Bo-Katan's story in the last 2 episodes, I think it really paid off, because now it's like, okay, we get a much clearer idea like why they, went so deep into her arc, and now here it's like, okay, everything makes far more sense now. So I really like that. I mean, I know for this one, I was pretty surprised. I mean, I wouldn't even say surprised. Like, I really appreciate that we did have a different pacing compared to some of the other episodes. Like, this one's definitely far more faster because there was a lot more action involved, which, I mean, I love it, because I think that sometimes kind of changing pace is necessary to kind of not feel too bored with, like, with how a show is going. Like, I really like how we get a different tone in this episode, like the different pacing that we get, because it is far more action heavy. So yeah, I mean, I really appreciate how they are for this episode that is basically the midway through of the season. It definitely sets up a lot of the pacing, kind of the new direction that we're getting leading up to like the end of season 3. Like, the fact that, again, we are probably going to see far more of how they're going to explore sort of this unification of the Mandalorians, and then let alone like the fact that, we still have the issue that is Moff Gideon, how that's going to set up the things. And I'm going to assume that, the Mandalorian storyline and Moff Gideon, being, having escaped is probably going to be interwoven somehow, although there's many questions of how or what that would lead up to. Although, again, we do know that one of his ambitions was trying to find Grogu and trying to, use him to kind of get some sort of power out of him. Like, he wanted to experiment on him, even though he kind of failed from the first 2 seasons. So there's definitely, like, I'm going to assume that his target's going to be, of course, Grogu. Like, Grogu's still not off the hook from the looks of it. I think that's probably what's going to establish far more of kind of this connection between the Mandalorian story and Moff Gideon. Like, that's just my theory right there. And again, I think that's probably going to lead up to sort of maybe going back to Coruscant, where I think that's going to kind of be the end game right there of like what's going to be this season, right? So definitely a lot of things going on. Again, like the fact that they're establishing different storylines, really kind of dissecting more into the Mandalorian lore and using that as like a way to kind of help the Mandalorians somehow flourish. Although, again, we don't really know what happened with the Moff Gideon situation. We still having, listened to, like, having heard of the Beskar in, like, a long time. I wonder the whole Beskar situation, because we haven't seen the Darksaber in, like, a while now, right? I think Mando still has the Beskar that he had that he fought against Moff, right? So a lot of questions right there too. Again, like I think there's one thing I'm still kind of confused about is Din Djarin's role this season. Like again, he still has been far more sidelined than I would have imagined, even though like this is a show that really started off with him and Grogu as like the face of the series, and now it's like, okay, Grogu still pretty much has been pretty important this season so far, but I haven't really seen much of Din Djarin and his, you know, his purpose this season, aside from the first 2 episodes where he actually had a pretty strong arc, but now it's like, okay, where does it go from here? Like, it just seems as if he's kind of there, and then it's just like, I mean, yeah, he did kind of help, you know, convince the Mandalorians to, you know, go to Navarro and help out the Navarrian, you know, citizens to fight off the pirates, which is great. I mean, it kind of shows that they are evolving. Like that's like a sign that there are, you know, trying to find the ways to kind of, again, reunify, you know, the Mandalorians, old and new, and especially now that they have kind of a land area that they can, you know, inhibit thanks to the Navarro citizens, and, you know, Karga. Like there's going to be definitely a lot of questions about what that's going to lead up to, like how they're going to build off of that. But then again, it's like, where does Din Djarin fit into this, aside from just kind of being the champion of like trying to, you know, find a new light into like not just, you know, sticking to their old ways, but also trying to evolve, right? So but even then, like I would have loved to see something far more happening with Din Djarin. Like I feel like again there hasn't been a lot going on with his characterization this season, which again, like I don't know what's going on with that, although again, like with the whole situation with Moff Gideon, I'm going to assume that that's gonna at least kind of bring him back to the limelight, hopefully. But again, that's just a lot of assumptions coming from my part. Aside from that, again, like this is we kind of see a little bit of Coruscant again. Of course, like the fact that we keep seeing Coruscant again implies that Coruscant's going to be one of the most important locations this season. Again, probably directly connected to Grogu, because we did see the Order 66 flashback, which makes it very clear that we are going to somehow end up in Coruscant. And it's not just us, but Grogu's probably going to end up in Coruscant at some point, although it's unclear for what reason. Other than the fact that there is Moff Gideon, so that could at least kind of intensify a lot of what that arc could be. But even with that, it's like, okay, well, all roads are leading down to Coruscant. It's becoming very clear that's going to be the case. Although, again, like we get to see more of this exploration of Coruscant again, kind of, you know, what it's like, what is like the actual realities of being a citizen in Coruscant. Like we keep seeing more of that. Like we saw that with Andor, where they really kind of established more of like what it's like as an everyday life of a person living in a city, which who, like, I mean, again, like from this Star Wars franchise where we've mostly been following Jedi and Siths and maybe a couple of senators here and there, like this, like, I mean, we saw with Andor, they really kind of take a whole different approach with like just following normal citizens and their livelihood and kind of showing kind of, you know, the pros and cons of their lifestyle, especially even showing kind of, you know, the, I would say kind of like showing the things like the Republic and how they're not as sweet and kind as we think they are. Like there's definitely something, you know, far more complex with them, far more complicated with them. They aren't as democratic as we would think they are. And it's like we even see in the beginning of this episode where it's like, because they're so focused on some, you know, mundane things like trying to get some files sorted out, like they won't even help out an independent, you know, planet like Navarro, where they needed their help, and then they kind of go through the whole technicality of things. It's like, okay, you would think that they would do better than that, but it's like, again, and it just shows kind of like the good and bad of all things. And so it just shows that, you know, like, you know, even with Coruscant and the New Republic they have, they're not as, you know, innocent as they try to assume, as, you know, try to picturize themselves. Like they even have their own flaws, and we're kind of seeing far more of those flaws now because they aren't as heroic as we thought they were, having seen sort of the other parts of Star Wars like in the prequels. So definitely like how they're kind of showing a bit more of that nuanced complexity in terms of like the government and, you know, how they kind of conduct their everyday lifestyle and how they treat their citizens, as well as how they process the democratic, situations in their systems, and again showing kind of the flaws about it as well. Like, they aren't always as innocent as they seem to appear. So again, I like how they've been, exploring more of that more and more, especially now that we're, again, having seen Andor. It's kind of now becoming integrated into a show like The Mandalorian, where we hadn't really seen much of that before, and now it's like here they're really kind of taking a bit more of a taking a bit more of the Andor approach, where they're showing a bit more of the everyday lifestyle and kind of dissecting a little bit of their government system, which is a very interesting way to kind of learn more about the systems in Coruscant and Navarro and all that sort of stuff, and comparing, contrasting how things are. But yeah, no, I think this is a pretty great episode. Again, it gives us a lot more of this insight into kind of how, things are, like what it's like being in different planets, the systems, the governments, as well as a really nice action-packed, middle sequence that we do get with the Mandalorians going up against the pirates. That was really get like a lot of Star Wars vibes, just like watching that whole scenario right there. Like, again, I love how they really kind of increased the pacing this time around, because I think the last one was pretty slow. This one's like they go pretty fast pacing, as well as at least finally kind of establishing what is the main direction of season 3, which is Mandalorian trying to get the people back together, as well as hinting at the fact that we're probably going to be seeing Moff Gideon again, as if we didn't really expect that. Like, we all expected that Moff Gideon was going to come back, but now it's becoming far more clear that there's a complexity as to why Moff Gideon will be coming back, and so that's going to be some exciting things to kind of see moving forward as we get to the last 4 episodes. But yeah, I think that's all I really have to say about episode 5. I think it was pretty good attention that we do get. Like, I think as of today, I would probably say this is probably one of our better episodes that we do get in season 3. So I look forward to see how they're going to explore more of the Mandalorian stuff, as well as Moff Gideon and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, that's all I have to say about this episode. Let me know what your thoughts are. What do you think about the sequence that we got today? Did you like the action sequence between the Mandalorians and pirates? What do you think about the whole situation now that Bo-Katan is going to be kind of key to bringing the new and old Mandalorians together? What do you think about the whole twist right there at the end, where not only is Moff Gideon clearly going to be coming back at some point this season, but how he actually escaped kind of was a big of a surprise? Like, how do you think about that? Is there something far more complex to what really led to sort of Moff Gideon's escape from, his imprisonment? Like, is there something far more to the story than we really think? And what else do you think is going to happen leading up to the end of season 3? Let me know in the comments down below, and make sure to like and subscribe.